Good afternoon.
Happy Wednesday,
I know that our
July 1st.
can you believe 6 months of the year is over? And let's hope it's the toughest 6 months of the year that's over, and the best 6 months of the year is
Are
ahead.
yet to come, yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, we're going to start with Indiana first, and I'll say that often because I don't want Illinois to get confused with where Indiana is at. Indiana entered stage 4, because you're in stages, stage 4 on June 14th. And what I'm finding is interesting is that the paperwork that comes from Indiana and what you might find on the news is different as it applies to salons. So this message isn't for Indiana as a statewide. This message is for Indiana salons. And I want to be sure we cover that because here on the first page of this document that was printed from Indiana's website called Back on Track, it says right under the, well, let's see, it's bullet point number 3. It says in stage 4 that face coverings are optional. And I know that people hang on that sort of thing because I've heard it that Indiana face coverings are optional. That may be true in some places. But if we look at the specifics of that same document, page 3 of that same document, where it goes over the professional services, which includes hair, skin, and nails, it says this is where you're at right now, and it's going to change July 4th and beyond. So, but I just want to get clear on where we're at right now, what we're supposed to be doing right now. First of all, by appointment only. That's the Indiana
No masks by appointment only?
No.
I thought you were talking about masks again.
I am. I'm going to talk about masks in this.
Okay, sorry.
This is what is standard for all salons.
I thought it was mask by appointment only.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
That's fine.
That's good. All right.
Workstation space to meet social distance guidelines. Now, here's the thing. Social distancing isn't going to go away. Regardless of what stage you're in, regardless of what you hear on the news, social distancing is here to stay for a very significant amount of time going forward. Screen your employees daily, pretty straightforward. And the next thing, employees and customers must wear face coverings. That's where we're at right now. Even though on the first page it says face coverings optional for Hoosiers, here for our industry, and I think for obvious reasons, employees and customers must wear face coverings.
Well, and I think it lends itself to how close we have to serve.
Yeah, because we can't serve from a social distance.
And we can't serve and have plexiglass to cut the hair.
Right.
Right? Okay.
And then the last thing is provide COVID-19 safety plan. So again, this is something that we've been encouraging for a very long time. Hopefully it's, I know many of you have it in place, and it will continue to be in place. All of the, the extra time for cleaning, all of that is important. Now, as of July 4th and beyond, so we're talking about next week.
Still Indiana.
Still Indiana.
Okay.
What's different, again, on page 1, and I saw this on the Indiana Salon and Spa Facebook page. You were asking questions about this. Lindsay, I believe it was you that asked the question. Here's what they're saying. Again, that same bullet point number 3 says face covering optional. That's for Hoosiers. That's not for people going into a salon. What's happening that changes significantly is that personal services, which is salons, hair, skin, nails, may open at full capacity. Full capacity. So what that means is that you no longer have a limit on the number of people. However, you still must provide social distance and some other things. So let's look at this. It says you're able to open for full service, meet social distancing guidelines. That's the second thing. You must still meet social distancing guidelines. So here's some of the things that are happening. We've talked about this before, that some salons are installing impermeable barriers, plexiglass or some kind of impermeable barrier in between stations. Now, the important thing again is it doesn't need to be in between stations on the wall. It needs to be in between the guest, the stylist, and the next guest and stylist. So if we go back to full capacity, which we are allowed, and full services being offered, which it says is allowed, we still have to some way be able to maintain that social distance. We still need to screen employees daily, and they recommend face coverings. They recommend face coverings. So it's not saying it's optional. It's saying it's recommended.
Well, and this is where the customers could really lean in and say, it's optional, so I don't want to. But if you have in your salon, these are the way in which we're going to serve, they have to abide by your rules, right? So
Absolutely.
we're going to talk about that more also, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And the last thing that they say here is consult industry best practices. Provide and post. Provide and post. That's it. We're going to be talking about that a lot too, because I think we're providing it, but I don't think we're posting it. COVID-19 safety plan needs to be posted in the business itself. All right, so there are guidelines and industry best practices that are also available in Back on Track Indiana, and they are recommending all of those things as far as how often you need to sanitize stations, flat surfaces, what you need to do with common touch areas, and all of those things. So we've been living with that for a while, but please know, social distancing is not going away. And I really think with this surge in COVID-19 that's happening across the country, and what what Dr. Fauci is saying, what the CDC is saying, I think that we need to err on the side of caution.
Well, I think that if you take a look at just the establishments I've gone to in the last 2 or 3 days, one being a curbside pickup, but it wasn't curbside, you went in, blah, blah, blah. It's getting sloppy. It's getting really sloppy, and as a result, we're all going to pay for it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think any one of us, any one of you that are listening, or anybody that you talk to, certainly not us, none of us want to have to close our businesses again.
Oh, no.
I really sincerely hope that's a once-in-a-lifetime event. However, I think we're flirting with it, and I think that the more that, again, I'll revisit some of the things that happen. Going to the jewel store over the weekend. Not everybody's wearing masks. In Illinois, it's still required. Anytime you step into a common area, masks are required. There's some people that believe that masks are a political issue. You know what? Where I got past the politics of this, and I think that there are parts of this that are very politicized, and I'm no expert in that. But what I will tell you is that Mayo Clinic says that if both people are wearing a mask, you've got a 1.5% chance of contracting or passing the coronavirus. I'm going to go with that. And I don't think it's a Democratic Mayo or a Republican Mayo. I think it's Mayo Clinic, one of the most respected medical institutions in the world. So as for us, we're wearing masks when we step out. I think that, again, in Jewel, there was nothing. There were no clean carts. There were no sanitation wipes available at the entrance to be able to wipe down the dirty cart. You just had to live with it. If you wanted to buy groceries, you had to go in and take that risk with a cart. And to me, if they're not providing that sanitation at the front of the store, how safe is it inside the store? That really concerns me. So,
Well, and think about it from the management side of Jewel. Why are we going to all these extra steps when the customers themselves aren't honoring the rules and procedures that have been put in place? And that's a lot of manpower to have someone just snub their nose at it. And it's a lot of effort, as all of you know, to put these extra things in place. The manpower that you never used before now has taken on a significant role to provide safety. And then you have customers that don't want to honor it. I mean, that's very difficult to say, why are we continuing when they don't care?
mm-hmm.
Right? So
Yeah.
I get it. I understand that.
But at the same time, our commitment
It's still to safety.
is to each other, it's to our community, and it's to people we haven't met, but we're going to pass while we're out and about. And I think as a business owner, we have even a larger commitment. That larger commitment is not only to ourselves and our families and our loved ones. It's to our teams that we love. It's to our guests, patrons that we love, and it's to the people that they touch when they leave our business. It's irresponsible.
Well, refer to that message we received from one of our staff.
Well, we received a message today that yesterday there was a class scheduled, and thank goodness the class canceled because there were 3 hairdressers in that salon who had contracted COVID-19 and would have been in attendance.
I'm talking about the nightclub too.
Oh, the nightclub. There was actually Heather from Springfield sent a picture of a nightclub on Saturday that was absolutely packed with people and dancing, and nobody had masks on. And so what I'm finding is...
And the bartender contracted the virus.
Yeah. What I'm finding is there's people that absolutely think that they are invincible and are just doing whatever they want to do, that are saying, you know what, if I get it, I get it, who cares? And then there's people that are afraid to leave their homes. One thing is for sure, we're all breathing the same air, and we're all alive at the same time. And what is going to be our ultimate responsibility to each other? So that's Indiana. I want to move forward to Illinois and talk about, we've got 2 things to consider in Illinois. We've got the majority of the state, and then we've got Chicago. And there's slight differences between the 2. Some things that have come to my attention in general is that, well, let me give you a best case scenario. I loved it that Illinois moved into phase 4 on Thursday. It was announced last Thursday. On Friday night, there was I saw pictures on Facebook of one of our top clients who was holding, they have 3 salons, and they were holding an in-person meeting, as well as the other 2 salons were on Zoom calls. And what they were doing was going over the phase 4 guidelines for professional services and what's different and what's the same, and reviewing their plan for how they're going to continue to serve the public. That's so important. I talked to another salon owner yesterday who said, we are not lightening our protocol. It does not matter what phase 4 says. We are going to continue with a more stringent protocol because we want to keep our team and our guests safe.
Well, and I think the other thing that we have to make mention is the behaviors that we have when we're not in the salon, because it affects when we're in the salon. So are we having safe practices when we're in our day-to-day lives? And the people at the club, I mean, how many hair professionals were at the club that night? I don't know. And how many guests were at the club that night? This is just an example. We don't know. And who's going to raise their hand and say, I was at the club? And what happens is after those behaviors are done, it risks everything we have in place, everything. And so how is the staff protecting their profession right now and protecting that they'll have a place to work, right? So that's tough. That's a really tough thing because life goes on, as I've heard people say online.
And people are just, everybody's anxious for what they remember as normal. They just want to wake up in the morning and go out the door and not have to worry about a mask, not have to worry if their mask is clean, not have to worry if they have a fever or a cough or any of that. They just want to be.
Well, and I'm reminded of the disciplines when I come in every day. Usually I get out of the car, forget to put the mask on because I'm in the car by myself. Then I walk into the building, I walk in, they go, mask. And then temperature. I mean, I'm doing all those things too, right?
Yeah, so.
And you have a little tickle in your throat and you sit up. What is that? Am I okay?
Yeah.
Right? So you're paying attention to all the signs. You're also very protective of where you are, who you spend time with, and you're very respectful of your decision making. And I think the younger you are, the more you think it's not going to happen to you.
Yeah. I just remember so much of this is discipline and choice. It's the disciplines, building the discipline of having that mask on when you're outdoors, taking it with you. It's choice whether you're going to follow the protocol to the degree that it becomes a discipline of yours. And I would love to think that a lot of this is going to go away, but I'm also seeing people say, you know what? A lot of this is just good common sense, and we may never want it to go away. We may never let it go away.
Well, do you remember? I always refer back to TSA because I can remember when we first started, because we traveled right after 9/11, and the fussing that took place, especially by the elderly, to take your shoes off. I'm not taking my shoe. I'm not taking my belt off. And well, yes, you are. And they did. And they got used to it, and it became common practice. These disciplines right now have to become common practice. They're not negotiable. And that's the hard part. Stand firm and protect what you have.
And I know that's hard for you to say. And that's hard for you to hear us say. I had a meeting with our consultants who are in the field. Right now, they're doing a lot of their servicing by Zoom call, by video call, by texting, by email, by regular phone calls. And we had some very real and in some cases raw conversations because they are in some cases walking into a salon that's following none of these protocols. And they themselves aren't feeling safe. But at the same time, they're concerned because they don't want to appear as though they're shaming the salon for their choices, but they also have a family that they're responsible to and our company who's been very straightforward on what our values and beliefs are regarding this. And so we've got some of our staff that is still doing most of their work from a distance.
Well, and we had you gave me the example of a young lady that was picking up a return, and she went to get the return, and they weren't practicing the protocol, so she stepped back out, called the salon, and said, "I'll take your return, but I can't come inside."
So please don't be
Offended by that.
Don't be offended by that. You know, your choice is your choice, but we're going to err on the side of safety, and that's what we asked our consultants to do.
Well, and I love the conversation you and I had this morning about one contact, one outside world contact. So why don't you go into that? Because that's really good. The UPS, the mailman person.
Yes, and that's one of the things that we're going to talk about. So I'll jump forward to that, and then we'll come back after some of this. Looking at phase 4, the guidelines, and again, these are.
This applies to both states, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's best practice. I don't know that it's required in Indiana, but in Illinois it's required. And in Illinois and in Chicago it's required. And it's under the the it's on page 5 of the guidelines, and the top of the page says staffing and attendance, and the bottom of the page says external interactions. And here's what we mean by that. Here's
Are you
what the
giving
state
off a
means
lot
by
of
that.
heat, Antonio? Is that you giving all that heat?
He brought it in from the warehouse.
That's hot.
So external interactions, what does that mean? That means this. Here's the minimum guidelines. Before allowing external supplier or non-customer to enter, or while requiring them to wait in a designated area, service provider, that means the business, should ask whether external supplier or non-customer visitor is currently exhibiting COVID-19 symptoms. Quick question and answer, same ones that the guest gets. Second point is if practical, and I want to share it again one more time, what I learned about this through the working with the task force and working with the city of Chicago. When a document like this says if practical, it means you need to do it. You have to do it. Mm-hmm. And it means that if you were called in or if you were brought to task or brought to court, that you would have to prove why it isn't practical. So that assumes that says you're going to do it. Mm-hmm. And if you're not going to do it, you're going to have to tell us why it's not practical, and we're going to have to choose whether we believe that or not.
And how could you defend it? You couldn't.
Right. So if practical, service provider should take external supplier or non-customer visitor temperature using the thermometer, as we do with our guests. Service provider should keep a log, means the salon should keep a log of all external suppliers or non-customers who enter the premises. So, simple. Their name, their temperature, and they went through the same questionnaire everyone else did, the time they came in, the time they left.
And maybe if it's a vendor, their product affiliation.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this could be for plumbers, it could be for electrical people that are in the salon, it could be for distributor salespeople, it could be for educators, it could be for, I mean, think of any non-customer.
Mailman.
Yeah,
FedEx.
the mail person that comes
UPS.
in, the UPS driver that comes in. We do that here. Our UPS driver doesn't love it. I'm sure not everybody's doing it, but they comply, and they do it for us. So when we look at that, that's a requirement, and it's right here in writing, and I don't know of any salons that are doing that right now. Simple. We're going to post first of all, your consultant will have a form that they can pass on to you.
That we're using.
That we're using here.
Yes.
That you could use at your desk. And that would probably be the easiest way. The other thing is that even though you bring that person in and you do everything you're supposed to do, the goal should be that they have contact with one and only one person in that business.
See, what's difficult about this, and if I was sitting on a panel right now, I would say, okay, they didn't show any, we allowed them in because they didn't show any symptoms, they didn't have a fever, and then see what happens is the mailman or the UPS driver is coming in every day and they look at you like, come on, right?
Yeah.
And so you say, I understand, Johnny, you've been taking care of our salon for 15 years. We still need to do this. Mm-hmm. But you don't know what happens after he leaves you.
Well, you know they're in more places
than we are.
Than the people inside that building are.
Exactly right. They are exposed to a whole lot more. And that's why you have to be extra cautious and overprotective.
For you and for them.
Yes.
It's just the way it works.
I mean, God forbid we get a call the next day or 2 days from now saying UPS driver has COVID. No, and he was just here yesterday and the day before. Now what?
So.
And they don't say the now whats.
Oh yeah, they have the now whats.
Well, but it's not pleasant.
And so suppliers and non-customer visitors should wear face coverings over their nose and their mouth when entering the premises. Mm-hmm. obvious same exceptions that we have for guests if they have medical conditions that or disabilities that prevent that. And then this last thing is what we just said, and encourage best practices is that limit contact between external suppliers, non-customers, and employees. So our best practices say one, limit it to one. If you meet them and greet them, if you're the one that's escorting them or meeting with them in the business or providing access to your electrical panel or your plumbing, or bringing a delivery in, we want to limit their contact to just that one person. So that's that one. And it requires a log. And why does it require a log? Because if someone contracts the virus, that's that contact tracing. They're going to want to know how many people were in that facility at the same time as that person who had contracted the virus.
Well, they're gonna trace as closely as they can.
And so they're going to ask you who was in the building at that time. By having a log, you will be able to know the non-customer visitors. Easier to know the customer visitors because they'll be on your appointment book, and the only thing that I think you have to do there is do you have accurately when you check them out. So that's Illinois. There's some other things that I wanted to talk about with Illinois because, first of all, this was when Phase 4 was first announced. There was a typographical error, and this came out different than what it is right now. So I want you to know that. If services require the customer to remove his or her mask, so facial, makeup application, beard trim, shave, waxing, employee must wear both a face mask and eye protection. So it could be a face shield, protective glasses, goggles, etc. They need to wear both. And it says also, in a private room if necessary. I mean, if available, if at all possible, in a private room. Illinois, we're still at 50% capacity. Chicago is still at 25% capacity. We said the other day, and I want to be sure that you're aware of this, that's the capacity that the fire department said your building could safely have. It's your occupancy ratio from the department. Now remember, you've got occupancy ratio and social distance, as well as masks. So we have to look at all of those things. One of the things that I'm seeing a lot in both Illinois and Chicago, and there's more available than there's ever been. They are saying that you should have signage. You need signage throughout. First of all, you need a safety pledge and a safety plan that's visible from the outside of your building. So in the window when they arrive. And again, there's plenty of places right on this website. You can click and there's a link that takes you to display signage, and it can be printed and put up and personalized and whatever you need to do. But we are required, and in some cases, especially relative to Chicago, well, and Illinois, I'm looking at it right here, we need to have it in multiple languages. It's available in multiple languages. Okay. It is available on this site in multiple languages. So you don't have to have it translated, you don't have to try and do it. It's there, print it on good quality paper, and use it either in poster form or whatever looks the best.
Good.
The other thing, again, we talked about impermeable barriers for Indiana. That's also something that's important for Illinois. They also require you to make hand sanitizing products available for the employee and customer use. And I was talking to Dave, who keeps everything kind of in place here at PSC. And we have hand sanitizer everywhere in this company, and in most cases in touchless containers, touch-free containers. So that's an important thing. In the school, what we did was we took the stations that we decommissioned. We took 50% of our stations out. And that empty station, we made a sanitation station. Every single one of them. We made sanitation stations throughout the schools. And that's there for the guest and it's there for our team. We also gave a bottle of sanitizer to every single future professional that came into the business, or that goes to our school, so that they had one for their personal use, for their backpack, for their locker, for whatever. So there's no shortage. There's no shortage of that. The other thing is, again, it reminds you to remove or reduce the number of items on surfaces to allow for easier cleaning. It does require cleaning throughout the day for wiping down. Again, we suggest our minute wipes. And you want, if you've got a flat surface, easy to come through and use that wipe. And it's good in a minute. It's not, you don't have to wait 10 minutes. The other thing on Illinois, we already said about the separate room and proper PPE if we are going to ask the guests to remove their face mask. There's also, I will tell you, and I'm sure you've all found this already, especially barbers, where you're cutting around the ears and such with the face mask. I continue to see people, I saw a post on Facebook the other day that said, how many customer masks have you cut?
You're cut off.
And yeah, have you cut off? Well, here's the thing. If you have the guest hold their mask on one side, you take it off of the ear, only on one side. It's still on the other side. You do your work around that ear. Then you put that one back, the guest puts that one back, they take the other one off and hold it on the other side. And the stylist does the work around the ear.
Okay.
Pretty simple. Okay. Encourage the use of disposable capes or aprons. I can tell you, not just with us, but with other suppliers and distributors, the disposable capes have finally arrived toward the end of June. They are available, they are economical. Remember that PSC's intent is not to make money off of those things at your expense. It's to provide them so that you can be back in business and full on.
Yep.
So I'm very confident of our pricing there. I think that's it for Illinois. And then for Chicago's big on several things. They've got a lot of signage available to you. They want your business plan, your safety plan to be publicized, to be put on there. You can, if you want to, you can go online to the Be Safe Chicago, and right on the first page there's a click where you click on it and you answer, you self-certify that you've done these things, and then they will send you a Be Safe Chicago certification, whether it's a decal or a poster or something that you can put up on the front of your business that says that you're in compliance.
Good.
So I would do that if at all possible. And other than that, 25% capacity is the big thing that we're still at. Limiting choke points, not having our staff. What that means is not letting people queue up at the service desk while we're waiting to check them out. Many people are looking at, I spoke with a salon owner this week that was talking about the fact that they do a touchless, they do a touchless, an electronic check-in and check-out. And what they had said is they were having some challenges with take-home sales as a result of it, because they're no longer walking with the guest up to the desk and
Sure.
collecting the product and recommending it.
You're missing the nudge.
And so what we suggested in that case was, when you check that guest in, asking the question, while you're here in the salon, we can prepare a take-home package for you with the products that you're running low on. If you can give me that request now, I'll have it ready and we'll go through the same virtual checkout.
Good.
And so that's
For your safety, we can get that ready now.
for your safety. And you're also putting it into their mind.
Yes. what do I need? Like before we started, I said I need dog food and I need
Well, you said you needed papers in front of you.
tomato soup.
She felt bad she didn't have any papers.
No, I feel like, okay,
The news desk.
from the news desk, here's the top 10.
So, we always want to talk about the, kind of the extreme cases, both what we should be doing and what some of the exceptions that we've heard are. Please don't think that this is a no judgment zone. This is an encouragement zone. What we want to do is encourage you to continue to do the right things.
I'm going to use that at home.
I'd like the home to be not a no judgment zone.
No judgment, it's
whenever you're
encouragement.
ready.
Okay.
And it is, it's encouragement.
Good.
We believe in this industry, and we believe in all of you, and we want only the best for all. So that's our message
That's
today.
it.
You got
And
anything that you want to
we're
say?
not here Friday unless we do it from home or something.
Yes, and we're going to celebrate our July 4th holiday.
Yes,
on
we
the
are.
3rd of July.
Yes, we've got a lot to do.
And we've got a lot of exciting things coming.
Yes.
You've heard us chatter back and forth with Antonio as he's been in the room producing with us. And he's just come on board full-time with PSC, and he's got a long list.
Wait, and God bless Antonio. Who's his number one contact have to be? Me. God bless Antonio.
Praying for him every night.
Right? Me too. Me too. I love looking at you on the screen, Steve. I can see you. Instead of turning my head, I can
Yeah.
just look up there.
So have a beautiful 4th. It might be a fireworks-free
It's one of
4th.
my favorite holidays. It's so pretty.
And we'll see you on Monday of
Unless we
next
have,
week.
unless we
Yeah, if
have
there's something that comes up
a
where we have to
bulletin and we
share it,
have to talk, we'll
absolutely,
come
we'll
on.
pop on.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.